Hey, how are you doing? It's Alan here from Look for Warriors. I want to tell you a quick little story, a really quick story today. I was looking at the newspaper, our local newspaper, the Journal, and there's all these stories now about the Magdalene Laundries in Ireland. And I personally knew nothing about it. I feel like I'm the only person who no connection, no person that they knew, no experience, no real connection with Magdalene Laundries. It's absolutely outside of my consciousness as an Irish person, which is incredible because I grew up in areas that were around where the Magdalene Laundries were. And what happened in Magdalene Laundries was an absolute scandal in Ireland. There was many babies, children killed. There was babies and children that were sold to couples in America. I'm sure the American couples didn't know how the babies came about, how the transactions that happened before they got the baby. And the conditions were absolutely inhumane that the women had to live in the Magdalene Laundries. Now, just for, I guess there's a lot of people here that don't know what a Magdalene Laundry is. Probably a lot of people listening to this that don't know what a Magdalene Laundry is. It was basically women in Ireland, maybe 50, 60, 70 years ago, I think, who got pregnant or were just hanging around the wrong kind of guys, and they were basically locked up for the rest of their lives, where they would fold laundry for hotels and other businesses around Dublin and Ireland. Wash and fold the laundry. These are the Magdalene Laundries. And I felt, I was like, I've absolutely no connection to this. This is a really, really big deal that's going on. I have no connection to it at all. So I read a few of the stories, and I read one story, and that story just, it was so sad. It was so unbelievably sad. This woman, she was 3 years old. I guess her mother was I don't know, maybe an alcoholic or something like that. But when she was 3 years old, she was kind of given up for adoption. I left outside of church or something, I'm not sure. But she got adopted, and when she was 8, something happened, because she said with the dad, her adopted dad, said she had a real close bond with him, and he used to really look after her. He'd talk to her all the time. He'd give her a bit of money going to school, and she really, really felt close to him, she said. But something happened, because when she was 8, a priest came and got her and brought her to Magdalene Laundries. And it was legal. It was all completely legal. There was a court document signed. The police completely supported it, and it was all completely legal. And at 8 years old, she was brought to this Magdalene Laundry. Now, in the Magdalene Laundry, she said there wasn't much food. I guess you probably got fed once a day. There was some kind of stew, kind of potato thing that they would have given them. Same thing every day. And the whole day was folding sheets. And she said you couldn't talk to anyone else around there. No one else. You weren't allowed to speak. I can believe that, because you want to keep it deep control, and when you want to keep control, you want to stop people speaking to each other. So they couldn't speak to each other, and they would have been like this. She said you got a belt, like you got a belt, you got whacked with a belt if you try to speak to somebody else. And she was there for many years. Now she was slightly different, because a lot of the women who went there would have been in the teenage years, whereas she went there very, very young. But one day, during the middle of the night, there was one other, she said that she was left-handed, so you had to fold the laundry, and you had to fold the laundry perfect every single day. And if it wasn't perfect, you got whacked with the belt. So they tried to make sure it was perfect all the time, but she was left-handed, and because of that, they wanted to make her right-handed, because they thought, at that time, they thought there was something wrong with being left-handed. So they put her on the side where she would have to use her right hand, so she could never fold exactly straight. and they'd all put the laundry down. She could never do it the way they wanted her to do it. They'd all put the laundry down, and the other girls would rat her out. They would say, "Hey, that wasn't me. That was her. She did that. That's not folded right." And they would constantly tell her, and then she would get a beating again. And I imagine it was just hell on earth, absolute hell on earth. You wore this kind of sackcloth thing, this kind of brown sackcloth thing, and it's absolute hell on earth. And there was one girl there. That she kind of had a bond with. They bonded, probably the two were getting smacked around the place the most or something. And she said during the middle of the night she started talking to her, even though they weren't allowed to talk. But when everyone else slept, she started talking to her. They made a plan. They made a plan to get the hell out of there. So one day, the truck would pull up every day, take all the laundry, and then take it out, whatever, into hotels or wherever the laundry had to go. And one day the two of them just decided to jump in the back of one of the trucks. So they did it. They ran out, they jumped in the back of one of the trucks, no one saw them. And they were gone, they were out of the Magdalene Laundry. Which is amazing. It was amazing that so many people were locked down there. I'm just so glad we live in a world now that this can't happen, where all these people get locked up for no reason. And it was supported by the police, and it was supported by all the politicians and all the powers that be. Everyone supported that. You couldn't talk about it. You weren't allowed to talk about it. The free speech was stopped, so you couldn't talk about all these people being locked up and not being able to live their own lives. For absolutely no reason. Did nothing wrong. And it was all completely legal. That's the one thing about it as well. It's all completely legal. All the courts signed off on it. Most of the people were in because of legal documents. Because of a court case. All completely legal. All supported by the guards. The Irish police are called the guards. Completely supported by the Irish police. And I'm sure Ireland's not the only place stuff like this happened. I'm sure it's all over the world. But if you got out of there like they did, you'd be brought back. You'd be brought straight back because you did the wrong thing. And completely supported by society. And lots of people would tell on you, or say that you folded the thing wrong, or there was lots of people that we call today Karens that would have been kind of supporting the powers that be and making sure that they knew that if you did something wrong. It's amazing that this could have happened. Only 50, 60 years ago. I don't know the exact dates, but it wasn't that long ago. Before I was born, I guess, but not that long ago. And so they jumped in the back of the truck, and the truck brought them outside the Magdalene Laundry, and I guess the truck was probably going to Dublin. I don't know where the truck was going, but anyway, they jumped off the back of the truck, the two of them, and they just started running opposite directions. She says, even now, today, she doesn't know that other girl's name. She was too scared to even ask for the name. They just ran opposite directions and disappeared into the night and never, ever saw each other again. But the two of them escaped. And they she was in a place called Enniscorthy. It's in Wexford. These are places very close to me, so my geography is correct. And she walked, I looked at this in the map, she walked for 100 kilometres. She walked a little bit, and she found a traveller, what we call in Ireland a traveller campsite, which are people, a lot of them are settled now, but at that time, a lot of them would have had the old style caravans. And she said they were great people. She was walking by, and she hadn't eaten anything except for turnips she found in the field that she kind of broke open and ate. And she walked by them and said hello, and they gave her a cup of tea. They looked after her, and she told them her full story. And they weren't in the Matrix. They weren't in the Matrix. They helped her. They showed her, okay, this way she was able to tell her full story, first of all. Probably for the first time ever. But not only that, they said, okay, go into Dublin. This is what you do. And they would have had friends or cousins or whatever they were all along the trail. And he knew where they all were. So you go this way, these people will look after you. Then you go this way, these people will look after you. I guess it was kind of like the Underground Railroad that they had in the States. In a way. They're just good people who would, look after other human beings. And so she walked from one traveller site to another. And once or twice they let her sleep at the traveller site too. And these must be the only people in Ireland who went in the Matrix at that time. Who wouldn't have brought her back to the Magdalene Laundries. Who wouldn't have thought, well, there's a court order. The police are enforcing this. We have to bring you back. They said, no. No, I listen to your story. And I help you to do what you need to do to the best of my ability. Not, oh, well, the courts have signed off on this. I have to bring you back to the Magdalene Laundry. Which is, I imagine, what most other Irish people would have said. I don't know. But they sent her to the next traveller site, and they were all hugely friendly. Hugely friendly. And they brought her and she went from one to the other. She walked 100 kilometres. I think that's about 63. Well, sorry, no, it's more than that. She walked 100 kilometres to where my hometown is. And I just think, I'm reading this story and I'm thinking, wow, there's a field up the road from me that I go for a run sometimes. Go for a jog sometimes. And she could have walked through all that time back there, 60, 50 years, whatever it happened to be. She might have walked through that exact field that I have my run in. That I run in now. So I'd be running over the ghost steps that she walked through all that time before. And she went from one traveller site to another traveller site. They looked after her. And eventually she got to my hometown in Ireland. And she walked through that too. And she kept walking. And Dublin was still another 60, 70 kilometres. It's about another 40 miles. So it would have been 100 miles in total. About 140 kilometres in total. She walked. Now she hopped onto a bus here and there and stuff like that. But you have to get on and jump back off again because the conductor will get on and they'll throw you off. But you weren't able to do that at that time. We weren't as controlled. You couldn't jump onto a bus now. So she went to Dublin City Centre and she met a man. She didn't meet a man. She went to Dublin City Centre. There was a man standing there. And she went up to him and said, she kind of told him the story. She said, listen, is there anywhere I could just sleep for the night? And he said to her, well, do you have any money? And she said, no, I don't have any money. He said, all right, that's what we're going to do. He went in, he made a phone call. He came back out and said, listen, there's a hostel up the road up there. Once you go up, they'll put you up for the week. And they know you're coming. I told them you're coming. So, go on up to the hostel and they look after you. And he took money out of his pocket and he gave her the money. I hear that. Like, that's Irish people. That's what Irish people were and what a lot of Irish people still are. That's how great Irish people are. Some Irish people. He gave her the money. This girl he'd never ever seen before. He gave her the money. And she walked up and she stayed in the hostel. That's how she got out of the laundries. She managed to connect with people who weren't in the Matrix. Somehow she found the people who weren't in the Matrix. The people who would help her. The people who would listen to her story. People who would not ask questions and not say, well, legally you shouldn't really be in the Magdalene Laundries. There's a legal document there that said you should be in the Magdalene Laundries. People who knew what was right and wrong, not what was legal and illegal. What that man done was illegal. To give her money and send her up to the hostel. He should have sent her right back to that Magdalene Laundry. That's where she legally should have been. But he didn't. He didn't. He didn't. He sent her to safety. And she was able to live the rest of her life, and she managed to have a family, and no one's life was perfect. I'm sure it was tough days, even after that. No one's life was perfect, but it was much better than it would have been in the Magdalene Laundry. And those people, those unnamed ghosts who don't exist anymore, that man, the random Irish man standing in the centre of Dublin city centre, looked after her, and the random Irish travellers who protected her, they were all illegal. They were all doing illegal stuff, but they did the right thing. Such an amazing story. It's crazy for me as someone who is in Ireland. I think it's affected, the Magdalene Laundries has affected almost everybody in Ireland, but not me. I had no connection to it until I read this story. It's been Alan here from Looking for Warriors, talking about the Magdalene Laundries and the difference between knowing right and wrong and knowing legal and illegal. Not always the same thing.